It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.
Today's video is Bruce showing you how to pour a resin mold again. This time, it doesn't work out the way he had hoped. Let's get started, shall we?
Well, hello and welcome back to my shop. Kind of doing an emergency video, so to speak. My mold here finally died. Can't use it anymore. This is a mold I've featured on my channel before. The last video I did when I was up just doing my thing, molding and casting, I was using this mold. And it is a humanoid mold of, well, I'll just show you. It's this guy here without saying his name because I'm not trying to get copyrighted or anything. Let me show you what happened. It basically just wore out. This is a simple silicone mold. In this case, the brand I use was that Decorum brand that I said. It's a little cheaper than Umu 30. It works just the same though. I got about, and I can't complain because I got about 60 figures out of this until it finally died tonight. And what happens if you look in the middle, this, where the casting actually goes, it gets very dried out. And I have treated it with mold release, and I even tried vegetable oil because somebody told me that vegetable oil prolongs your mold life. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I got 60 castings out of this. I'm happy with it. But it is definitely done. Here's the last casting I got out of it. And it's okay. It's okay. I take that back. It's not the last casting. It's the next to the last casting I got. The last casting I got mad and threw it away. The mold finally had started breaking up and was actually sticking to the casting. So it was never going to work again. This is the next to last casting I got. A lot of the details are there, and I want to point out the head. You see that thing on the head. This particular mold, most of my molds I pour from the feet, like I described in my video I did a little bit ago. Most of the molds I like to pour through the feet and then vent the hands up to the feet. And but this particular mold I couldn't. And somebody asked me about that. They're like, why don't you put the mold, and pour through the feet all the time? Well, this particular mold stands this way in the mold. Here's the head. So it stands this way. And the molding compound comes in, and I never had a problem with these hands because they're a little bigger. But a lot of the figures I make have smaller hands, and you can't do it that way. So I flipped this particular mold upside down. So the pouring hole is actually through the head because it's easier to remold the head on a figure like this than remold the hands or the feet. So in this case, the feet come out perfect. The hands come out perfect. I just have to Dremel down the head, which I haven't done yet, which is what I wanted to show you. And this is what the figure's supposed to look like when it's done. This is the one we're gonna. This is the one we're gonna make. This is my original for my mold we're gonna do now. I'm stuttering again. It is what it is. It's late. I actually put in a long day today. I've been up since 9 o'clock in the morning. It is 20 till 4 in the morning now. That's how busy I am lately. But I want to take this opportunity because I have to pour this mold. I want to show you why this particular mold is not like the other mold I told you about. We're going to pour this the same exact way. The head's going to be at the top. We're going to glue that at the bottom of our vessel and fill it up. So let's get started with that. Okay, you see I got my hot glue gun right here. I always use a low temperature hot glue gun. It doesn't damage my masters. There are the higher temperatures, the big ones. They have a tendency to damage masters in my experience. So I always use a low temperature. This one actually came from the dollar store, I think. I don't know. I've been using this forever. But all I'm going to do is I got my figure prepped. It's all ready to go. I cleaned it. You have to clean it. I cleaned it with rubbing alcohol to get all the crud off of it. It's in good shape. So I'm going to put a dollop of glue on the one foot.
And this is where Bruce should have realized he fucked up.
And on the second foot. And I'm not worried about being sloppy because we are going to Dremel anything left over out. And I have a Pringles container here. I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to put this right down in the center of the Pringles container. Now, normally I was using red Solo cups. And in my last video, or one of my last videos, I ran out of red Solo cups. And I did the video about, oh, will this work? And that was with the reusable molded compound. The molded compound we're using tonight is not reusable. It's a one-shot thing, so I don't want to screw it up. But I learned that these Pringles containers work just fine. So I'm going to let that dry, and we'll mix our resin, or I'm sorry, mix our compound. And see, I just glued it right there in the center, standing up normally. No need to vent this one because it's got big hands. And let's go. One thing I do want to add while we're doing our prep here, I have a container that we're going to put our silicone in. This is actually, I cut some off of the old mold, and I'm only going to do a little bit. Depending on the size of your mold and how much you need, I cut some shavings off. And this is from another viewer of mine who suggested this. If you cut up some of the old mold and mix it in with your silicone, you use less silicone. So we're going to try that tonight. I hope that works. I tried it before. It worked the first time. So we're going to do that just to save a little bit of money, because that's basically what my whole channel is about when it comes to the resin stuff. It's about saving money. So I have my things cut up here, and I have my mold ready. I'm going to measure out the silicone molding compound, and we're going to get started. Now, whatever molding compound you're using, you have to read the directions. Some you can go equal parts by weight or volume. Some are a little bit different. What we're using today is a Decor Realm. I've used this before. It is the cheapest stuff I could find on Amazon, but it works just fine. I mean, heck, I got 60 castings out of this. That's pretty good. That's pretty good considering it's pretty detailed and everything like that. But what I like about this is when I'm making a mold, I can do it by weight. And as you can see, there's part A and B. We're going to do equal portions of both. This is a pretty big container, my Pringles can. I'm guessing probably over half of this bottle. So let me weigh this out and we'll continue. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I have a container and I'm going to mix it in. I picked an extra large container because the cups I have are not big enough to handle this. So I have an extra large Tupperware container. The silicone won't stick to that. Put it on my scale, and I teared my scale out at 0. So let's dump this in. I'm going to fast forward through this. Okay, at part A, I poured 8 ounces in my vessel here. Set that over there. 8 ounces. I don't need to see there. 8 ounces into my vessel, as you can see on the scale. Now I'm going to re-tear it back at 0, and I'm going to put part B in at 8 ounces. I'm hoping that's enough. I mean, it looks like a 16-ounce vessel to me. We're going to find out. Here comes part B. Fast forward. Okay, there's my 8 ounces of part B. And you can see it's going back and forth between 8 ounces and 8.1 ounces. It shouldn't matter. The only thing I don't like about this molding compound is they're both the same color. So you got to make sure you mix them long enough. So I'm going to mix this for about 2 minutes, and I'll fast forward through that too, because no one wants to sit there. One thing I do like about this brand is you can be a little rough on it, and you're going to get air bubbles in there, but the air bubbles come up quite quickly. You have a pot life of about, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes at the most. But as long as you make sure it's mixed properly, you're good to go. The thing I don't like about it is, like if you're using Umu 30 or any Umu product, there's 2 different colors. You mix it till it turns a certain color. And I have messed up these molds before because I was in a hurry. So I'm not in a hurry tonight. Fast forward through the rest of it. I don't know if you can see on camera or not, but the air bubbles are starting to rise to the top, which this is very good at air displacement. It pushes them all out without a pressure pot, without anything like that. But we still have these pieces of the old mold silicone to throw in. So we're going to dump that in there. Pretty sure it's mixed up enough. So I'm going to put those in there, and I'm going to just stir them in. It might not seem like much at first, but It's either that or throw them in the garbage. Let's fill our mold. Here's my mold. Like I said, it's nice and dry now from the hot glue. And we're just gonna do a high pour, as high as you can get. Because when you get high, it pushes those air bubbles out even better. You see those chunks coming through? Those are the pieces I added. If all goes well, this mold will be perfectly fine. Notice I'm not hitting the figure. I'm pouring it to the side. And I have these pieces cut really small, so they shouldn't affect my casting. Looks pretty good, and you can see some bubbles are going to come out. I'm not worried about it melting the Pringles container because this is a cold molded compound, so it's not going to get hot like the reusable stuff did. If you don't know what I'm talking about reusable, check out my channel and go to playlist on resin casting. There's a really cool reusable molding compound you can use, but it only works for clear resin. This is going to be made with white resin. That's why it's such a different thing. Well, this takes about 6 to 8 hours to dry, and like I said, it's late. Now it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. I'll get up in the morning and finish this video and see where it goes. You guys ain't gonna know. It's gonna happen in like 2 seconds. See you tomorrow. Well, it is a day later. So I poured that at like 4 o'clock in the morning last night. It is 10 o'clock at night now. And I just came down to the shop. I had other things to do today. And I realized, here's our mold. I realized that I made a mistake. It might possibly be a big mistake. It might cost me this mold. But as I said before, I leave my mistakes in. What's the mistake, you ask? Here's the old mold. And we cut the top of this off to see if we could put pieces in our mold. So when you open up the old mold, you see the head is on the top and the feet are on the bottom. So when we pull our mold, it comes out like this, and I have extra on the head, which you can see here. The reason I do that for this particular model is because the hands are big enough that it falls down in, and I don't have to worry about air bubbles, so I don't have to vent them like we did with the other figure I did. And that's the whole way I make this mold. In my stupidity and extreme tiredness last night, out of force of habit, I glued the feet down to the bottom. And the head's right here on the top. So when I open this, we're going to be pouring through the feet. And I did not vent these hands. So the mold's going to be shaped this way. Air's going to get stuck in these arms, and the hands aren't going to fill up. I have to find a solution to that, or I just lost $15 worth of molding compound that I can't replace. So let's open this up, see if we can get through this. Like I said, I leave my mistakes in. Let's see if we can solve them. So here's where it's been sitting. You can see I spilled some molding compound on my silicone mat here. But this is what I love about the cleanup. Whenever I said don't wipe it with a towel, we're just going to pick that up and throw it in the garbage. Nice and clean. Okay, back to the mold. You can see the head down through there. I think it's showing up on the camera. It's supposed to be feet you're supposed to be looking at. So I'm just going to carefully, I'm using a box cutter today because it was laying there. I use a lot of these. I'm just going to carefully cut the cardboard down the side. I don't want to go too far into the mold. And this should come right out. As you can see, the compound came real nice out of this Pringles can. So as far as the mold itself, it's sturdy. It's sturdy, but there's those feet, and that worries me about the hands. So I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to skip through this too. I've explained how to do this before. I'll just fast forward through this and we'll see what we can come up with. Whew. After all, the old hands start hurting. But you can see through fast forward, I just cut down as close as I could along the natural seam of the figure I'm working on. I'm still concerned about these hands. Let's get to figure out the rest of the way. And there it is. Figure's no worse for the wear. Mold is closing up nice and even, like you see these lines here. One of your goals is you want to have them connect nice and tight, and they are. Still concerned how we're going to get those hands to come out, so let me get this ready and we'll pour it and see what happens. So I have all my stuff measured out. I am ready to pour as soon as I get the stirrer. And I'm ready to pour, but I still have to ask myself, how am I going to get that resin up in the hands where I want it to be? Because there's no vent. If I simply just pour it into the feet and fill up the mold and give it a couple shakes, the hands are not going to come out. They'll just come out with stumpy arms and maybe no arms at all past the shoulder line. That's the problem, and I made this completely upside down. So I'm thinking, okay, how can I get the resin to go into the hand area, this area right here? If it's going to be in like this, and you pour it this way, it's going to fill the head up first, come up, come up, come up, and then boop, it's going to stop. This will all be air, and this will all be air. So how can I get that resin to get up into those hands? Just sitting there is never going to work. Bounce it up and down all you want to. That air has nowhere to go. Now, I don't want to waste $15 worth of molding compound, because if you watched my other videos, you see that I am extremely frugal, and you might as well call me cheap. I want to find a way to make this work. And if it does work, then I'm good. If not, I got to make a whole new mold and start from scratch. Who wants to do that? So the best thing I could come up with is like, okay, well, I have to get that air out of there somehow. Turning it to the side would fill up the arm on the bottom. Turning it to the other side would fill up the other arm, let that escape back out into the figure. And then hopefully if I turn it this way, it'll come out through the feet. That's what I'm hoping will happen. Now, I'm using a 10-minute resin. It's what I always use when I use white resin. It's, where are we at? Over here a little bit. It is called just Let's Resin Polyurethane Resin, part A and B, equal parts of each, by weight or volume. I love doing stuff by weight, especially for bigger projects. In this case, I don't need a lot, so I'm just using 2 shot glasses full of resin. So I'm going to mix those together, and always have, and of course it's not in front of me, always have a spare mold lying around, a simple mold that you can just set aside if you happen to not use all your resin that you mixed up. You don't want it to go to waste, so we're actually going to dump whatever's left into this little simple 2-dimensional mold. All right, let's mix. Oh, one more thing before I put the bee in there. I know I'm going to be twisting this around, so how do I keep the resin from pouring back out of the hole onto my hand, onto my mat, onto my lap, onto my hand? Ugh. I got the cap that I use for the mold. When we get that in there, I'm going to explain it now, because when I start doing it, I have to hurry. I'm just going to put that cap on there and use that whenever I twist it. Almost forgot my gloves. Got my gloves. They're like fluorescent or something. I don't know. My wife gets these for me. Gloves are important in this. If you know you're going to make a mess, you're going to get that on your skin. Wow, I had a lot of Red Bull today. You don't want to get this stuff on your skin. It will irritate you, and you want to have proper ventilation. I have a fan back there pointing out a window. I have nice even flow going through here. It's going to take all the fumes and stuff away. So with that said, I'm ready to stop talking and get this poured. So let me get my thing ready. Pour that. I don't have long to work with this, and I'm going to need even longer. So I'm not going to stir this as long as I normally would. I just want to get it mixed in there together. It's pretty warm down here today, too. I got the space heaters on. Mix, 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 mix. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, that should be good enough. Like I said, I got to work fast. Pour it in the Tootsie. It's taking it just fine. I'm going to, oh, there it is. Okay, you think it's full, but it's not, because I got all that air in the arms. I'm going to put my tin thing on there, hold as tight as I can, and we're going to turn it upside down. And we are going to turn it to the sides. Where's the feet are important. Okay, so here's one arm, here's another arm. We'll do one arm like this, turn it to this side. I'm going to shake. Gonna shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your molding. I'm holding the arms facing down, but I got a tight grip on that tin thing. Slow down a little bit. Imagine those bubbles popping out. Hopefully this is working. I really don't know if it's going to work or not. I think that should be enough. Then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and do the other side. And I hope it works. Said I don't have a lot of time to work with this resin. If this was a clear resin, I probably could sit here and rectify it easier, but this is not a clear resin. So there's that. Give it a couple. I like to bounce it on the table. Work those air bubbles out. I'm going to take this off. Now, I should have a space in here to add more resin. I do. That's promising. Fill that up, and here's my excess place there. All I can do now is wait 10 minutes and see if it worked, and we'll find out. Won't be 10 minutes for you guys. Look, I didn't even get any on my hands. All right, I'm going to go get well, I need another Red Bull like I need a hole in the head. I'm going to go grab a sandwich, and then we'll take this apart.
One sandwich later.
Okay, guys, I gave it about 20 minutes, a little extra time. I wanted to be sure it was completely cured. And I can tell by this guy here, it's nice and hard. It's not tacky. And I can pull this up here. That's about what it needs to be. So, moment of truth. Let's just set that aside. I don't need that. Here's my lid. Don't need that. Popsicle stick. Throw in the garbage. All right. One thing I didn't mention, this particular mold, you see I put rubber bands around it. You see me using the other compound, I put masking tape around it because I can't use rubber bands on that reusable molding compound. This, however, is much more resilient, so I just use rubber bands. Here in Pennsylvania, they call them gum bands. I've mentioned that before, but just in case you haven't seen any of my videos before, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that's what we call them out here, rubber bands. So, all right, get all the gum bands off there. And I can take a little bit more of this off. It's still not completely hardened yet. I hope that doesn't cause me an issue. I don't think it will. Okay, moment of truth. Split it open. I could tell already one of the arms didn't work. Let's pull it out the rest of the way. Of course, I'm disappointed. Both of the arms didn't work. Got the air bubble trapped in there. There it is. The head come out perfect. But my hands, because they weren't vented, did not come out at all. Once again, that's from the old mold. That's what it's supposed to look like, and here's what I got. I don't have any more molding compound for this video, otherwise I would show you the proper way to mold this. I figured I'd leave this in and show you guys another what not to do video. Sorry for wasting your time. But, as you can see, I messed it up. So since this little guy decided not to come out, I'm probably going to try a couple more times off camera, but I don't see this working. My next video for resin, I'm going to show you guys how to properly vent and not do what I just did. I am disappointed. This stuff isn't cheap. Now, this is basically garbage. Yeah, it is what it is. Hey, everybody messes up. I'm going to keep this video going anyway, just to show you guys that not everything has to be perfect, and not everybody does everything perfect. I'm not perfect. But next video, I'm going to show you how to not let that happen. Catch you next time. Bye.
Wait a damn minute. You are better than that. Stop giving up and fix the damn thing. You got this.
Did I just get told off by my own AI? Yeah, I think she meant that. It's like my wife yelling at me. Except I can turn her off. Just saying. All right, you know what? Izzy's right. I can fix this. I'm going to fix this. Here's how I'm going to do it. Dun 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 dun. I mean, after all, we're Gen X. We're used to figuring stuff out, right? Okay, quickly. Problem is, here's my mold. I did not vent the hands, so there was no place for the bubbles to get out. So I'm thinking about it. And it took me a while. I started getting more angry as I thought. I look at the inside here. Is it showing up? Yes, it is. Camera angle's kind of difficult, but I'm going to need a pointer. Here's my pointer. If I can grab it. Okay. Here's the bottom of the hand. It is not vented anywhere, so air's getting stuck there. Air's getting stuck. This is hard to hold apart. I hope I don't ruin the mold doing this. Here's the other hand. Not vented anywhere, so right all this area here is holding bubbles, and it went the whole way up to here. I got to vent this somehow. Now, what if I drill a hole straight through here? Well, you can't really drill with silicone, so we're not going to do that. So what if I cut a little valley from the tip of the fingers into this leg? Then all the bubbles will come up out to through the leg, right? That's what we're going to try to do right now. And I'm trying to keep it on camera for you guys to see. It's hard to do both. Actually, I could see better on the camera. It zoomed in good. So I'm going to cut right here at the bottom of the hand. It's not going to be the prettiest work I've ever done. But I'm cutting into the bottom of the hand one way, and you're not going to see this on the camera, but I'm going around, and I got to remove this piece that I just cut. And I will cut it, and this is what I want to remove. I want to get this little piece out of there. If I can remove this piece, use the old fat fingers, cut that little piece out. Now I have a vent from my fingers. I think I did it. I need a bigger piece here. Let's cut this piece out. The only problem I know I could foresee in this is if this works, and I really hope it does. If this works, I'm going to have to recarve the hands with a Dremel tool. And that's not very fun. This is the whole reason I was doing it upside down in the first place. It was supposed to be, but because the hands were filling up, I didn't have to touch them. So apparently while I'm using this mold, I'm going to have to trim the fingers. But better that than throw away a $15 mold. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this half off camera to keep the video shorter. But as you can see, now I have a groove from the tip. Is it on the camera? From the tip of the fingers into the leg. So any air should go up through that and right out the leg. Let me cut this other one and then we'll pour it. So I got my resin parts A and B measured out. I'm going to quickly put them in here together. And we're going to see if we can get this baby to work. I got a good feeling about this. I hope you guys do too. I hate when I make mistakes. I really, really hate making mistakes. But now since I cut those two vents in there, and you see I got my gum bands around there holding it together, I feel positive about fixing this. And I won't have to make another mold, which is good because I'm just going to go ahead and pour this. You've seen me do this before. I'm just going to go ahead and pour it like I normally would. I'm not going to worry about shaking it, stirring it, spinning it, anything. I'm going to get it about halfway and I'm going to bounce it. I'd like to turn it around a little bit. Just going to bounce it. That is shoving that resin down in there since I shouldn't have any air bubbles. Go to the side, go to the side. I just like to do this to make sure. And the chins in these figures sometimes don't want to go right. Fill it up the rest of the way. Little bouncy bounce. I really hope this works. If this works, it'll make my night because I'm not going to lie. I was pretty angry about the way it turned out earlier. But I think this will be a nice end to a video. If not, I'll leave it in because I always leave my mistakes in. Like I always say, this craft can be frustrating sometimes. And not everything turns out perfect. So, all right, that mold is full. As far as I can tell, here's my excess mold. Throw in an excess mold so it doesn't go to waste. And we wait. Be right back. Okay, that was probably the longest 20 minutes of my day. I was so anxious because I really want to know if this works. And I hope it does because I'm going to leave it in if it doesn't. Like I said, I'm just trying to prove that, not everything comes out perfect the first time. You ready for this? Let's open it. Fail. You can see right there where the arm cut off over here. Let's just get the whole thing out. Okay, here we go. Show it to you guys. One side worked, one side didn't. Actually encouraged by this. I'm actually encouraged by this. One side worked, one side didn't. I'm going to go ahead and make this side's hole bigger. This was the one. Okay, this is the one I did off camera. That's the one I did on camera, I think. Yeah, because they were done this way. You can see where my vent here goes out to the hand. It came through, no problem. This one, apparently I didn't make it to the hand, so air got trapped right here. I'm going to try this one more time, but I'm going to do it off camera. And then we'll see if we can get this right finally. So I just spent a couple minutes here carefully taking out my new mold to replace the one here that came out without the hand. And I got it out. I popped it off, cleaned it. And I did it all on camera. I forgot to press record. It's just been one of those days. But it's okay. Look, it finally worked. So I did save the mold. Had to waste a little bit of time. This hand came out. This hand came out. We are good to go. So that's how you fix a mold like that when you make that mistake. But you know what? None of this would have happened if I had taken my time and done it the right way. which I did not. I was in a rush. I meant to put it in without vents, but I also meant to put it in the other way. So slow down, enjoy your craft, and don't get over anxious. So now I feel much better about this video. I got it fixed. So that's all there is to say. Bye. For real this time. Bye.
Sometimes even the most experienced people make mistakes. The only thing you can do is try to fix it and move on. Hopefully someone learned something from this experience. At least at the end, he didn't give up and ended up making it work. It would have never happened if he hadn't made that critical mistake. Slow down, take your time, and enjoy the craft. Until next time, good night.
It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.